We've been here 17 years. We moved in the summer 17 years ago. Yes, we've got, my daughter was 8 then, so we had the fields and we managed to get her a pony, and the railway line's just along there. I read somewhere about the Anglo-Saxon burial ground, which was over, I think, that way somewhere, but I've never really taken the time to find out too much about it. But so when I found these, which were dug up by the rabbit, close to the railway line over there, I assume they were just thrown up in the spoil from when the railway line was cut, and the railway line's down below, so a lot of the spoil would have been thrown up both sides. So that's where I assume those came from. So I didn't really know what to do with them. I mean, I assumed that they were from the Anglo-Saxon. I didn't think they were a police matter, you know. And I think they will join together. So I think it's just part of one skull.
This is the River Meon as it is today, flowing through Droxford. 1500 years ago, this was a navigable river where Saxons would have sailed and rowed their ships up from the ports of Hamwick, what we now call Southampton, and Portsmouth. They would have come up the river as far as here at Droxford to the old mill as it then was, and this is the site of the more modern mill, although it's now not in use, and the mill stream. What we're going to be doing today is surveying an area which we know is a site of a Saxon cemetery, and also we're going to look for evidence of where the settlement might have been, which is probably up on the hillside rather than down in the river, but will be near the crossing, this area here. So hopefully we will get something really useful out of this survey.
So what we're going to be doing today is teaching you, providing tuition to you in how we use metal detectors in an archaeological context. Okay, how you actually handle the machines, how you interpret the signals they do and how you set the machines up, and then how you recover artifacts from the ground. So you get tuition in all aspects of it. The cemetery was first discovered in 1900 when they were digging the railway cutting there. So just on the other side there, the cutting down there you'll all be familiar with. And that's the shaded area here on that figure. And that's the area which was disturbed when they did the cutting. And we hear about large quantities of bones and metal artifacts being discovered when they were doing the digging. And this came to the attention of a local antiquarian called Dale, who hot-footed it along and confirmed that there was an Anglo-Saxon cemetery here being destroyed by the cutting. And he notes the presence of graves orientated east-west. Some had grave goods, some didn't have grave goods. Okay. Some of the objects ended up in the British Museum, some in Winchester Museum, and some were snaffled by antique dealers and taken off to London. The cemetery was rediscovered in 1973 when Fred Oldsworth discovered on the other side of the cutting over there, the side of the cutting that's facing us, a number of graves which were being eroded away down the slope. So at the top of the railway cutting, he could see the ends of some graves, and some bones and objects were falling out and tumbling down the cutting. So that alerted him to the presence of graves over on the other side of the cutting, and he carried out an excavation, which is on page 2. We might have both situations. We might have a layer of graves, and we might have a layer of spoil over the top. Just don't know. We might have nothing. I might be totally wrong about that. And our results from yesterday have not been encouraging, have they, John?
I had high hopes for this particular site, based on what's been found on the adjacent property from all eras through from Bronze Age onwards. And yesterday was not the most productive of days, was it?
No.
So, yeah. But today is,
a new day.
Today will be superb.
You'll
enjoy every minute.
You're going to cover a different area today?
Yeah.
Or are you going to do the same area?
We'll be going over the same ground because you can't be totally methodical with it. Yeah. There's large areas that get missed, and you only have to be a few inches to the left or right and you've missed your target for something that could be significant. So. I've lived in Droxford for 12 years now, and shortly before I arrived here I took up the hobby of metal detecting, and I've belonged to a club for some time and gone out as an individual, but now I'm associated with the Saxons in the Meon Valley project, and we're able to, myself and 2 others on the team, are able to turn our skills to something productive for the Saxons project. This particular site unfortunately hasn't been very productive, but we live in hope, and we've still got half a day ahead of us, and with any luck we'll come up with some goods that Nick, the chief archaeologist, will be happy with.
My name's Nick Stoodley, and I'm a specialist in Anglo-Saxon archaeology with a particular research interest in Hampshire. And I've been doing research projects, excavation, writing reports about the archaeology of the Anglo-Saxons in Hampshire for quite some time now. And one of my particular research interests is to see if we can identify Jutes in southern Hampshire as opposed to Saxons. And the Meon Valley is a particularly interesting area for that, because the historical sources refer to a group known as the Meonwara, which we think are a Jutish group. So we have historical evidence that there might be Jutes here, and I wanted to try to find some archaeological evidence to support that. And that's one of the reasons why I've been involved in this project, which is focused on the Meon Valley. It gives me the potential to investigate one of my key research projects, as well as getting involved in the community and helping them research about their own Anglo-Saxon past.
Well, I had something, but I can't tell whether it's there or not now.
Take the machine.
Yeah.
Here we go. The trouble is, sometimes you can move it, and if it was like a small coin and it went on edge, and it's then at the bottom of the hole, you've lost the signal.
Any more luck? Or any luck?
Musket ball over there.
Musket ball.
Not a Saxon musket ball.
No,
There.
Would you like your musket ball?
let's have a look at it.
Nothing to see.
We've lived here since January 1971, and since about January 1973 I've been interested in digging out the history of Droxford, mainly with documents. I'm not archaeologically trained, so it's a self-taught process. I tried to gather together information from all quarters and then plot it on big 6-inch to the mile maps, so that the picture gradually builds. Looking at the documents, you can't learn much about those two periods, but the metal detectorists who've come into the village or come around the village, I've met up with some of them, and they've told me where they found various artefacts, and so they've gone on the map as well. And so we begin to see that either side of the valley, you've got Romans and Saxons and medieval finds in the meadows up above the, some height above the river. There was a professional excavation the other side of the railway cutting which runs just behind the camera here. And looking this side, we hope to find that there were burials, indications of burials this side. When the cutting was dug, it was quite a deep cutting, the earth contained a lot of spearheads, knives, jewellery, skeleton pieces, but they were not properly located on a map, on a diagram. So they went, as it were, in a group to the British Museum and to Winchester, but nobody knows which spear belonged to which head, so to speak. And so there are definitely burials the other side, on the east side of the railway, and we were hoping to find some indication that there were this side as well. But there seem to have been Saxons all the way down the valley, that we can say, right from West Meon and down through Meon Stoke, Corhampton, here, and then on down to Soberton. The archaeologist in charge, Nick, doesn't seem to think that there was anything much beyond Soberton because it would be a forest.